All righty. Good evening. How is everybody doing? Uh, Good day here today. I'll tell you, weather was good, and it was so nice to actually have the sun out. It was very windy, very, very windy. So, uh, but other than that, it was got all the puppies cleaned up today. One puppy left today. Family came up from Tennessee and they took her, last of the females to go. So I got one female left, and that's the one I'm keeping. So I have four males left, and I have somebody coming tomorrow to take one of the males. So then we'll be down to five dog puppies altogether, and two of them are staying here anyway. Um, so that's a good thing. That is a good thing. But yeah, just overall, I thought it was a great day to me. I mean, I never left the property. I mean, I went and met the people at the top of the property and gave them the dog. But other than that, I was home all day and cleaned out the area for the puppies and put new straw down in there, and so that was good. And just trying to take care of the things. And that was my goal today, was to get those puppies all squared away. I wanted to make sure that their bedding got changed out and all that, and then I got them all washed. And man, I'll tell you what. So I washed all those puppies 2 weeks ago, and they have gotten so much bigger in 2 weeks. It is incredible how big they are. Um, I used a 5 gallon bucket, and then I used another 5 gallon bucket today, and I was like, oh my god, these dogs are getting big. But well, that's how it goes. But they're doing well. Everybody's good. They're all healthy, and that's the important thing. So, all right. Hella's doing fine. She was flipping out um, when when I left, and I don't know if she knew that I had a puppy with me when I left, because I had to walk up the hill, obviously, and I had the puppy in my jacket, and I don't know if she knew I had one with me, but like when I got back, I let her out. She's not acted any differently. She's done very, very well. What I've tried to do each time, like if somebody came in, we had a couple of times people came in, and I just put her in the camper, and let them decide which dog that they wanted, and then then they would take the dog and leave, and I wouldn't let her out until after they were gone, so she didn't see the puppy leaving, and but yeah, she's done real well. When she was out, when I was showing you guys them today in the garden area, and they were running around. I don't know if you saw it on video or not, but she was like, like biting their heads, but not in like a bad way, just like that mom way, like But she was not letting them nurse. I'm pretty sure she's done. She's probably pretty dried up by this point, as far as that goes. And I feed the puppies twice a day, and they get all the water that they need, so they're all doing very, very well. Hey, Katrina, glad you're here. Yes, there she is. Now so I tried to get her to do this during the private live stream, wouldn't do it. Tried calling her up, telling her to come up, she wouldn't come up. And now for the mainstream, there she is. She wants to be seen. So that's okay. All right. So want to talk? Well, before we jump into anything, I just want to remind everybody that this is a very family-friendly oriented channel. I would ask you all to please be decent in the chat. No racism, no nastiness. If you cannot abide by those very simple, easy rules, those awesome people lit up in blue with the blue wrenches are going to boot you here. And so just putting that out there ahead of time. And so, nobody can say, I didn't know it was coming. So, but we'll just be decent and have, and that'll be that. But yeah, so obviously want to talk about people acting like children, uh, the behaviors of people in the way that they act and that entitlement mentality. And I think a lot of that, to be honest with you, stems from their parents not telling them no, giving them whatever they want. They feel like they're their opinion is more important than anybody else's, and if you have a difference of opinion, then you're wrong. And it's craziness. The whole thing is just, to me, that's insanity. And then those type of people will surround themselves with people that think exactly like they do. They will never let themselves be open for debate or have a discussion, because they just can't. They can't be challenged. And to me, it's like, uh, I'm meant to be in bed, but youngest disagrees. Oh, that's funny. Entitled narcissistic attitudes. Why I like being in the woods now. Oh, I'll tell you what. Yeah, that's it's a me society. You're 100% right about that. That is a good point, a really good point. That is the mindset. It's all about them and what they want and their needs, and they don't care about anybody else. They won't look out for anybody else. I mean, we had, growing up, we had some elderly neighbors, and we'd keep an eye on them. And I had one lady, I used to go get her mail for every day, and she insisted on paying me for getting her mail. And so what she would do is she would give me half dollars, the half dollars, and but I liked going over there because she'd always have like milk and cookies. I was like 12 years old. Um, I'd go have milk and cookies with her, and we'd sit there and we would talk. And she loved the company, and I think that was more it than anything else. And and I enjoyed doing that for her. And those type of things were pretty neat. As far as I was concerned. But people don't do that now, and not. And let me just re-say that. Not everybody doesn't do that. A lot of people will still watch out for their elderly neighbors, and they'll watch out for people and stuff like that. But that's more of the exception rather than the norm, where 60, 70 years ago, that was the norm, that you watched out for each other, you watched out for your neighbors and stuff like that. And that's more rare now. People were like, well, it's not my business, I don't want to get involved. That's the attitude now. And I think that's sad, to be honest with you. And again, that's one of the reasons why I like living in the middle of the woods. It's peace and quiet. I mean, I didn't leave the property today. It was great. I mean, I drove up on top to drop the puppy off. But other than that, I was here all day. Like I said, I accomplished what I wanted to get accomplished today. Wasn't like, going bananas because there's still a lot of snow all over the place, and just taking care of a few things, and, making progress as far as that goes. And that's what I wanted to do. So, in the past 10 years, all my neighbors moved. I don't know anyone's name now. That's the weird thing. I'll tell you what, when I lived in Greece, New York, I'll give you a great example of the way the mentality of people is. So we were living in that house. I was in there for 8 years. I was in that house for 8 years. There was a family that lived across the street. The husband and I got along great. We talk all the time. I would see him out there, and we would, we'd sit there and talk. The people next door to us, we knew them because our kids played together, our daughters played together. So I knew them from that. The people on the other side of me, not one time in 8 years did they ever say, "Hey, come on over for a cup of coffee." They were literally, you would see them and they would be like, "Hey, how are you?" And I would go, "Hello, how are you?" And then they would go in their house and they would focus on their own family. And because I had gone over there one time and I invited them, if you like to come over and have a cup of coffee, and they're like, "Yeah, we just like to focus on our own family." And I'm like, "Okay, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when people do that?" But it's just, and then like the other people on the street, I had no idea. 8 years, no idea who anybody else was, just because people just, they don't bother, you know, and that's weird to me. That's weird. I'm a very social person, and so I try to get along with everybody. Now, like I say, out here, people mind their own business, which is fine, but they'll also, willing to help out and watch out for each other as well, which is always a good thing. But other than that, it's just some people like being left alone. Well, it's more than that nowadays. You know, um, it's more than that nowadays. It's just people are just they're paranoid. Uh, you know, again with that whole mindset of my way is the only way, and anybody that disagrees with me is wrong. You know, you got people blocking people on social media because their politics are different. I mean, you've got to have seen the videos of people going, you know, if you voted for that man, you know, you're this and you're that and all this kind of nonsense. It's like, really? What? Because your candidate lost, you're going to have a temper tantrum? Ed, do you know about the fires in North Carolina? I did not, Rose. No, I did not know that. Yes, people are less trusting nowadays. Yeah, exactly. You're right, JJ, and that's a lot of it too. They're less trusting, uh, paranoid. You know what I mean? Just I don't know. Like I said, I just to me it's just I try to be a decent person to everybody. I try to treat people the way I want to be treated until they prove to me they don't deserve to be treated like that, and then I don't want nothing to do with them. So that's kind of the way that I deal with those situations. I stay away from people like that because I'm not going to waste my time or my energy on people like that. I don't have the time or energy to waste on people like that. It's just um, you know, if you can't be civil and decent, then you know, oh well, you know, good luck to you. But crazy. At growing up, the whole community helped one another. We were all way out of town. Delbert, okay. I think you see that more in the country. Definitely not in the city. Absolutely not in the city, and not in suburbia really either. But once you get out in the country, there's more of that. You know, I will tell you. I'll tell you what happened. So when we had moved from Greece, New York, to the homestead that we had, and I'll never forget this. The first time we had driven down to town, and we were going to the restaurant. There was this little restaurant in town, and so we'd parked the car, and we got out, and we were waiting to cross the street because there was traffic coming, and the people stopped. Right, the people stopped and waved us on, and I couldn't believe it because so many years of living in the city and living in suburbia, people run you over in a heartbeat. Everybody's in a hurry. That no one would stop for you, and I couldn't believe. I was like shocked. I'm like, holy crap, we're living in a whole different world. Um, you know, out here, you know, when you pass somebody on the road, okay, I'll give you an example too. When I'm out here, if I pass somebody on the road, I give them a wave. They wave back. It's just, you know, that's now, and it's funny when I get to the other end of my road where it's actually a different town. They don't wave. So it's just you just never. So I wave to everybody. If they wave back, great. If they don't, oh well, I don't care. So my own son, 37, my caretaker, fights with me over who I voted for, screams, hits things, and calls me names. Crazy. Yeah, that's not cool. Yeah, and that's unnecessary. And I don't get that. I don't get. I'm sorry that you're having to deal with that because that's not the way it should be. Where's the respect? Number one for your parent. So heard YouTube money dried up and you had to go back to work. Tough break, man. It's been a while there, Fort Smith, and so what? No big deal. Part of life. So yes, bikers always wave. Yes, JJ. That's that. And then if you're on your motorcycle and there you do the wave, it's not like you're doing this. It's usually two fingers and you know you're pointing down. You're giving them that sign. Basically telling them keep two on a road, two wheels on a road. That is really cool. That camaraderie with bikers is really fun and it's really neat. And if somebody doesn't give the wave, then you're like, what a jerk. But that's a whole different that's a subculture within things, JJ. And but yeah, that's I love that. When I first started riding, I had no idea. I had no idea. And my buddy was like, "Oh yeah, the wave, yeah, everybody, And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So then, so like, I'll be like driving and be like, "Hey, hey, there you go." It's just a fun part of it. But yeah, it's just and well, and the thing is, you look at the kids on the bikes today, right? You have so many of these kids on crotch rockets, driving like idiots and morons, and it gives bikers a bad name, and so that's a problem. So I would have no desire for a crotch rocket, none whatsoever. I just want to cruise. I want to get on my bike and just ride and enjoy my ride, and not have to deal with any stupid stuff. So that's kind of my take, and that's the way I like to be. But I wave and I know everyone in my little South Carolina community. That's cool. No, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, small town mentality is different, than suburbia or, the cities. It's just a different mindset. What kind of work am I doing? I'm not going to divulge that because of trolls would try to cause problems. So, but that's, that's why. So, but yeah, just I'm back to work and doing that, and I'm still doing YouTube, and I'm still trying to do things around here, and that's just the way it goes. I mean, that's like I said, that's part of life. Never minded working. I've worked my whole life, so and even when I was strictly doing YouTube, I was working around the property constantly. So, you know, did you find a home for? Did you find a home for the pups? One went today, and I mentioned that earlier in the stream here. One puppy went today, and another puppy is going tomorrow, which will leave us with what do I got left? Well, after the one goes tomorrow, I'll have 5 puppies left, and 2 of them I'm keeping. So I will still have 3 more males that are available for somebody to take them. So, but so I'll tell you this. So uh, the one family came from Michigan that took one of the puppies. The family today that came were from Tennessee, and then a guy that's getting the puppy tomorrow came all the way down from New Hampshire. So that's pretty wild to me that they would travel that far for one of the dogs. So that's pretty cool. So, but yeah, pretty neat. And so I want to make obviously that they're going to go to good homes. And then CC and his wife took they got pick of the litter, so they took their dog, and they took a female. So vintage 900cc crotch rocket was a blast on the 91W. Oh, I'm sure it was, and I know a lot of people have fun with them, but it just they were that's never been my thing. And don't get me wrong, I've done 110 miles an hour on my motorcycle, or no, 120. I think I did 120 on my bike. So I'm not against going fast. Okay, that's not what it is. But with the crotch rockets, when you got a bike that can do 150, 170 miles an hour, you're going to try it out. You're going to test it. You know what I mean? And I think people take unnecessary chances with that. Now, when I would speed with a motorcycle, I'm looking for a straightaway, and just looking to have a little bit of fun, open it up for a little bit, and just see what it can do. But it's a straightaway. It's straight shot, no curves coming. When you're going that fast, it's a whole different thing, and it's not like being in a car. you know, I've done 120 miles an hour in a Mustang. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things. But no, so I'm not against the speed. It's just yeah, I like the wind in my hair, exactly, blowing in the breeze. But oh, like I said, when we went to Sturgis a couple of years ago, when my buddy and I drove out there, you get out to South Dakota, the speed limit in South Dakota is 80 miles an hour, and we were doing 90, averaging 90 miles an hour, and passed the cop, and they never even blink an eye, and people were still passing us when we were doing 90 miles an hour on the motorcycles. So But again, it's straight, it's flat, and it's just, you can just go. Use a lot more gas doing that fast, but it was fun. It was a good time, you know. But so what's that in miles per hour, Joe? 190 kilometers. What's that in miles per hour? I don't even know. 120, yeah, yeah, 120. You go 120, you're moving. Yeah, you're definitely moving. So, like I said, I've enjoyed riding. I think it's a lot of fun, and I pick my spots when I feel like going a little faster. Then I'll go a little faster, But yeah, I mean, there's certain parts that like I said, once you get out there to South Dakota, when the speed limit's 80, I mean, that's just it's fun. I mean, so yeah. I well, I was in like I said, I did 120 in my Mustang that I had, and I had a oh god, what was that first sports car that I had? No, Trans Am. I had a Trans Am. That was the first one, and I did 120 in my Trans Am, and we were moving. I mean, we were passing cars like they weren't even there, and they were doing 55, and we were passing them. I mean, people saw us coming, right? So we're in the car, and that car was black, and they could see us coming, and they were just getting over, just getting out of the way, and we were just past them in a blink of an eye. I mean, it was crazy. It was fun, but it was crazy. Oh, the sound in the holler at night. Yeah, I'm sure. I am sure. But anyway, so that's but that's all part of that. But yeah, I just with recent events, obviously, Trump's making a lot of moves. And this is what one of the things I was watching. One of these reporters was talking to the press secretary now, and he was saying that that they have arrested like 1,500 illegal immigrants, and like half of them hadn't committed any crimes in the U.S., but they were here illegally, and they tried to make this like big thing about that, and and she basically said if they're here and they're undocumented, then they're illegal. So they are breaking the law. And he goes, well, that's this law. And she goes, no, that's a federal law. So she put that reporter right in his place, which she should have. Listen, if you're doing things the wrong way, you have to suffer the consequences of that. Period. Should they be focusing on the criminals? Yes, and they have been. I don't know if you guys saw this. I can't remember what city, Minneapolis, maybe up in Minnesota. I think they were like, we're not complying with what they want to do. I don't think that they care if you comply or not. If ICE is coming in, they're going to come in, and they're going to run their operations, and they're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to get these guys. And if the city don't like it, too bad. And I love when they said, well, they're carrying out all these operations in democratic owned or controlled cities. Yeah, because that's where all these people are, because they wanted them there. They wanted them in them democratic cities. Some of the ones, yeah, she laughed at that so-called report. I saw that too, which was funny. Some of the ones that they arrested in New York City were part of the gang from Colorado. So that's the other part of that too. That a lot of people are not talking about that. And the immigrants that are in New York City were applauding. Okay, they were applauding these arrests because of the crime, and they didn't want to have those people there committing crimes. So good for them. You know, and I hate that the fact that they try to turn it into this like big race thing. If if you came across the southern border and you were from Eastern Europe, if you were from the Middle East, if you were from the Far East, or if you were from South America, it's all the same. You're all illegal. So every one of them should be deported. Serious. That's it. Because again, I want you guys to remember our tax dollars were putting these people up in hotels, giving them free health care, giving them, cards with money on it, our tax dollars. And so that really pisses me off because there's so many people here in the US, American citizens that need help, right? But if maybe they're just this much over, just a hair over the threshold, oh, sorry, we can't help you. That's wrong. I'm sorry, but that's wrong on so many levels. So, hey, and there's Debbie. Welcome, welcome. And that's a problem in my opinion. When you have that type of stuff, that's bad. Eisenhower, Reagan, Obama all suspended budget spending back in their time. Trump does it, and somehow it's a crime. Oh yeah, they're always going to do everything that they can to discredit him. It's already started. We knew it was going to happen. He's the bad guy. He's trying to be a dictator. He's this or he's that. He's doing what he was elected to do. I want people to remember that. I don't care if you're for it. I don't care if you're against it. He was elected because the majority of the people in this country said enough is enough. And that's what the reason why he got elected, because they were tired of the status quo. They got tired of candidates being put up there that weren't even elected candidates, because Harris was not an elected candidate. She was a selected candidate. And so, that's what they did. And they tried to throw her down everybody's throat. And, so that's it. I've seen them overflowing carts at Walmart, then get into a new car. That's wrong. You're right. And that is wrong. And it should not be that way. Listen, I'm going to tell you what. If you come to the country the right way and you want to work your butt off and get ahead, you got all my respect in the world. Got all my respect in the world. But do it the right way. When you do it the wrong way, what happens happens. That's how it goes. That's reality. So it's just like I said. Well, it was just like with New York. When I was in New York, they were issuing driver's license to illegal immigrants, and I'm like, what? They're not even supposed to be here, but yet you're going to give them a driver's license? To me, that's insanity. Again, it's just, and again, who benefits? That see, there's at the end of the day, we got to remember who's benefiting from them being here. Big business benefits, folks, always. If big business doesn't have a finger in that pie, they're not going to even be here. If they said, no, we're not hiring any illegal immigrants for our meat packing companies or to pick our fruit or any of that type of stuff. My family felt very afraid when we saw them waving Mexican flags and driving very fast in Target parking lot, waving their flags and a Mexican flag on their car hood. Well, you shouldn't feel afraid because of that. I mean, people are going to do what they're going to do. I mean, they had, like in New York, when I was there in Rochester area, they had the Puerto Rican festival every year, and people would celebrate being Puerto Rican. They had the Polish festival every year. They had the German festival every year. They had the Italian festival every year. So it was just celebrating your heritage, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I really don't. I don't. If you want to celebrate and have, Polish Day and have parties and sell Polish food and all that type of stuff, good for you. You know what I mean? But when I worked for the Georgia State, I think he meant prison, illegals didn't take the written test or driving test to get their license. They did not take them? Wow. Why not? You know what I mean? Why not? So, yeah, like I said, did you see Jim Acosta got booted out of CNN dumped like 200, they were exempt. Unbelievable. Um, CNN dumped like a couple hundred people because CNN's going down the toilet. What a surprise there. When you lose faith in the news organizations that are reporting the news, All right, when it's so jaded and it's so one-sided, it's not reporting anymore. It's opinion pieces and mouthpieces for the one party that turns people off and they don't watch. You're always going to have your hardcore ones that are going to watch no matter what, and stuff like that. But no, Trump's not going to stop food stamps. No. Rose is saying they don't need car insurance either. That's crazy. Yeah, nobody's shedding tears for Acosta. I don't think so either. I mean, when his own party politically doesn't want him, what does that tell you? Oh, racing, yeah, Debbie, yeah. Well, that happens too. I mean, and if the authorities do their job, which they should, you know, see that the thing is, it amazes me, and I'm 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 not anti-cop, okay, but I don't like it that a majority of the cops are revenue collectors. That's what I have an issue with. I definitely have an issue with that. That they're looking to jam people up, give them tickets, and stuff like that. Now, like I said, me personally, I've had good interactions with police officers and I've had bad interactions with police officers. I have been profiled because I was on my Harley and the way I looked and I was dressed and and riding a Harley Davidson motorcycle. So I got pulled over, and the excuse that he used was about safety, but then wanted to run my license. And I'll tell you, and I have no problem with it. I went, yeah, here, go ahead, because guess what? I had nothing on my license. I had nothing to be worried about. And he came back and gave it to me and said, have a good day. He was fishing is what he was doing. And that's what a lot of police officers do. They will profile you. They're fishing. If you had, like, now in a lot of places now, marijuana is legal, okay, but back in the day, like in New York, if you had a pot leaf on your thing or you had your Grateful Dead stickers on your car and all that type of stuff, you're asking to be pulled over. I mean, that's just stupid. That's just stupid, you know but yeah, respect and attitude goes a long way. And I'm going to tell you what, anytime, I'll tell you right now, AD man, anytime I've been pulled over by any cop, if it was a good experience or a bad experience, I was always respectful. I was always polite because I wanted the interaction to be over with as quickly as possible and I wanted to get on down the road. That's how that went. So, but like I said, I've had, you know, good encounters and I've had bad encounters. It's just part of the deal. It's the way it goes. And and it's like when people say, "Oh, all cops are this or all cops are that." You can't lump a group of people all in one category and say they're all like that because they're not all like that. There's good cops, there's bad cops. There's good nurses, there's bad nurses. There's good doctors, there's bad doctors. I don't care what profession it is, wherever you go, there's going to be good and bad in that profession. There's good teachers, and then there's teachers that suck that shouldn't be teaching at all, but because they've stuck around long enough to get their tenure, it's almost impossible to get rid of them. If they know how to play the system, and the system is set up one-sided, that's a fact. Um, they play the system and they get away with all kinds of stuff, uh, you know. But try to do that as a white person, it ain't happening. You know what I mean? And that's just reality. So you got to know the game. You got to play the game. And you just got to realize that it's there. There's always. I'm going to tell you a story. All right, I'll tell you a story. You're going to love this one. Okay. I'll even say the hospital that I was working at. I'll even give you the hospital I was working at. I was working at Monroe Community Hospital, county-run facility, in Rochester, New York. Okay, so I was a night nurse on what was the unit? It was a locked unit We had a lot of people with confusion, dementia, that type of stuff, people with brain injuries, and stuff like that. Okay, so my night group that I had, it was myself and it was two CNAs on nights that I worked with, and the one girl, great worker, worked her butt off. The other girl was very lazy, very very lazy. Okay, and I caught her sleeping in a patient's reclining chair in the room. Caught her, red handed, caught her, right? Um, and so I reported that because, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. It's not your job is to go sit in somebody's reclining chair and go to sleep. Well, she was black and I was white. Okay. Guess who got moved off the unit, right? I got moved off the unit. Guess who eventually lost their job? I lost my job. Okay. She's still, as far as I know, she's still there. But that to me, okay, um, that's racism, folks. I don't know what else it could be. You know, I'm sorry if I caught you sleeping on the job and I reported you, and then you're going to try to turn it into a race thing. And that's what they tried to do. She tried to, oh well, he's racist. I didn't do that, and blah blah blah. One of the other black girls that I worked with, she stood up and she was black, and she stood up and she said, "Wait a minute, no, no, Ed is not a racist. Ed would never do that. That girl probably was asleep, and he caught her, and that's exactly the way it was." But again, you know, I mean, why is it that I should have to tiptoe around stuff because of that, right? It's a job. If you do your job, you should keep your job. If you don't do your job, you should lose your job, regardless of who you are, where you came from, and all that type of stuff. And my nurse manager was black. The director of nursing was black. The diversity lady at the hospital was black. You know, and So, I made waves, so I was gone. Period. End of story. And I went, oh well, and then I moved on. So I had to leave SW Field because of wokeness and the same type of BS. I just could not do it anymore, and for other reasons. I hear you. No, it just and that's oh well, but no, they're watching out, if you will, for their own. And it was easy to get rid of me because I'm a white male. Simple as that. And like I said, and I don't kiss nobody's butt, guys. Any job I've ever had, I do my job, I take care of my stuff, but I'm not kissing anybody's behind. It's just not who I am. I've never been that type of person. I say it like it is. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. My mouth has probably got me in more trouble in jobs than anywhere else ever because I don't sugarcoat. I never have. It's just, um, oh, and bald, yeah, yeah, because I'm a white supremacist, right? I love that too. Oh, you got your head shaved. Oh yeah, you got to be a white supremacist. No, I'm just a balding guy that said, okay, enough is enough. I have issues getting this child to bed. Yeah, that's not any fun. I could tell you how to deal with that, but it's an old school way of dealing with that. I'm going to tell you a story about my kids. I'll tell you when they were little. You'll love the story. So the twins' bedtime was 7 o'clock. Josh was, a little bit older, so he could stay up to 8 o'clock. All right. So we had company over to the house, and wasn't paying attention to the time. And all of a sudden, Eddie and Heather are packing up their stuff and they're heading up the stairs. And the people are going, "What's going on?" And I looked and I went, "Oh, 7 o'clock. It's bedtime." I said, "If you'll excuse me for a minute, I'm going to make sure they brush their teeth and we're going to tuck them in and kiss them goodnight." And they went, "Okay." And so we went up and tucked the kids in and made sure their teeth were brushed, gave them their kisses goodnight. And we came back down and they were like, "Oh my God, that is amazing." And then we didn't have to be quiet. I told them, "Don't worry about not being there. They're used to noise. We're not walking on eggshells because of the children, so they'll go to sleep. Um, that was their routine. That's all they ever knew, right? So it wasn't like, oh, we're going to sneak and stay up later. No, it was 7 o'clock. It was time for bed. And these people were blown away that our kids would go to bed willingly and easily at that time. I've seen parents that their little kids are monsters and they throw tantrums and they flip out and they're screaming and yelling. That was never going to be tolerated in my house ever. There was a bedtime. That's a routine. That's all they ever knew. They were not in charge. We, as their parents, were in charge. Period. End of story. And that's what it has to be. If you want to be, that parent and get those kids squared away, the biggest key. I'm going to tell you what the biggest key. My granddaughter's bedtime is 8. We always read a book after brushing teeth, and there's nothing wrong with that either, Don. If that's part of the routine, then that's awesome. But you know, the biggest key with kids is this, and I will tell you guys, if you can take this advice or not take it, I don't care if you do or you don't. Follow through on your threats. If you say to that child, and I'm going to give you another example of that. If you say to that child, if you do this, this is the consequences of your actions, and they do that, and then you give in, okay, and you go, oh well, no, we'll let it go. Then that child knows it can do whatever it wants to do and get away with it. But if you follow through with the punishment, whatever that punishment may be, uh, that's that. And I'll give you a good example with that with Eddie. Um, we had chores to do. Eddie would always give me a hard time because of the autism or whatever else, and just because he was lazy and didn't want to do it. And he would, hem and haw and give me all kinds of static. And I finally said, okay, well, here's the deal. You don't have to help us. But if you don't help us, you lose computer privileges for the rest of the day. And I only did it one day at a time, folks. I know some people are like, oh, for the whole next week or for 2 weeks, or it's too long. You take away that privilege for the day. That is torture for a child. That is worse than any spanking or whooping you ever could give that kid. You take away that privilege and they lose their mind, okay? That's how you get them to comply. Follow through on whatever threat you made. Amy, same thing. When Amy and I first started dating, Josh was 6 years old when we first started dating. So the way we were doing it was, if she didn't have Josh, she would stay at my apartment. If she did have Josh, I would stay where she was at. Okay. And she had a room, and she had a housemate, roommate type of stuff. And it was that lady's house. And so, um, Josh was acting up and not going to bed the right way. And, so I had said to her, you got to set the ground rules with, that. And so she had told him, if you get out of bed again, what was it? BattleBots was the big thing that he loved. BattleBots. Every Tuesday was BattleBots. And so we had to watch BattleBots on Tuesday. And so she said, if you get out of bed again, you're not going to be able to watch BattleBots on Tuesday. Well, he got out of bed again. Okay. And so she goes, okay, well, on Tuesday, you're not going to watch BattleBots. So that Tuesday, I come over after I got out of work, and Josh says to me, he goes, Ed, mom's got something that she's got to tell you. And I looked at her and I said, it better not be what I think it is, because if it is, I'm packing my stuff up and I'm out of here. I said, because if you don't follow through on your punishment, I go, your word means nothing and he wins every time. And she turned around to him and she said, no battle bots tonight, Josh. And that was it. And guess what, folks? That boy did not give any trouble going to bed after that ever again, because he knew there was consequences for his actions. And that's what it comes down to with kids. Kids want structure, right? They want to know, here's the boundaries. It makes them feel safe. You may not think so. You may want to be your child's friend and your buddy. You can't be. When it changes? I'll tell you when it changes. When your child turns 18 and they move out and they go on with their life, that's when the relationship changes. Okay. But until that point, you are the parent, period. And you better set those boundaries and you better stick with those boundaries because that does make kids feel safe. If they know their structure, they may not always like it. And I'll tell you something else, what I used to tell Heather all the time. I said, if you're somewhere and something's going on and you're uncomfortable with it and you don't want to do what other people are doing, I said, blame me. Put it on me. My dad will kill me. I can't do that. I'll get in so much trouble. I said, I'll take it. And I said, and then you call me, or and I'll come and get you, and that'll be the end of it. Thankfully, I got very fortunate with Heather. Heather was always a good kid, and she, most part, hung out with good people. There was one girl that she was hanging out with that there was an issue, and I ended that. I said, you are not hanging out with her anymore. That's it. End of it. And I think, looking back at the circumstances of everything, that's what she wanted, but she didn't know how to do it. So she had to do it so where she got punished. And so that was it. But yeah, I ended that relationship because that girl was nothing but trouble. She was nothing but trouble. But that's, and again, that comes down to parenting. You know, being there for your kids and being an advocate for your kids, very important. But there has to be structure. There has to be discipline. Um, you know, Josh, I was in his life for 11 years. He got two spankings from me in 11 years. And the spanking for me was two swats on the behind, and that's it. That's all they got. Two shots on the butt. You knew what I meant. And both times that Josh got a spanking from me was because he was disrespecting his mother, and he was 6 at the time, both times. After that, never an issue. Never an issue. Okay. Heather, I never spanked her one time because I never had to. Eddie, Eddie got lots of spankings until I realized they're not working. I got to do something different. And that's when I figured out the tool for Eddie was to take away privileges, you know, and that worked for me. I was a single dad for 7 years. My two sons thrived on routine and structure. I was firm but fair. And that's exactly it. That's exactly the way it should be. And that's great. I'm glad. And that's what they want. Here's the weird part. Here's a weird thing. I don't know if you guys have seen the statistics on this. Children raised just by the father or by the father and mother. So you got to have that father figure in their life. Those kids are the most successful kids. They go well better. A lot of kids raised just by mom, that's where there's a lot of problems. And statistics show that that is true. So, being a single mom is not easy and it's a tough job, and a lot of women have to do it, and I get it. But especially males, especially boys, they need to have a strong male role model in their life. I was very fortunate. I had my grandfather. My grandfather, in my mind, to me, was like my father. Um, he was a harsh, harsh man, but and he was a hard disciplinarian. But you knew he loved you and you knew he cared, but he didn't take no crap for nothing. So that you need that strong role model, male role model. And I'm not talking about the drug dealer who's flashing the money and showing you, hey, this is here. A lot of kids are going to be gravitating towards that because they don't have a strong role model in the home. If they do, a lot of times they stay away from that type of stuff because I'm going to tell you what, as a father, if some punk was coming around trying to, get my son to do something and be involved in something, he's going to get whipped. Okay? So, that's just how that goes. I became a single parent to my daughter in 2005. She was 5 years old at the time. She is now 25 and thriving on her own. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. Well, like I said, you guys know my story. My ex left when the twins were 10. I raised them, and at 18, Eddie decided he wanted to go live with mom because he didn't like the rules. Well, when he was 18, he was a man. He could make his own decisions. And so, he went to live with his mom. And, Heather went to college, and then she came back and she was home. And then, then I bought the land down here, and then she decided she wanted to stay there. So, and that's okay. That's okay. But people praise Heather's work ethic all the time. They said, "Oh my God, you're not like a lot of kids of your generation." And she will always tell them, she'll say, "My dad did not play. We had chores, and we had to do the chores." So she's always known that structure. And she wants to have her own money and do her own things, and she's not afraid to work to get it. And that's what I said. Nobody's going to give you school. I'll tell you one of the biggest things I said to my daughter. I will tell you this, guys, and if you have daughters out there, you might want to talk to them about this type of thing. I said to her, I said, "Don't you ever rely on no man to take care of you. You rely on yourself. If you have a man that compliments you, you know, and I said that's different. If you're working together, that's different. But I said, don't you ever be in a position where some man has total and complete control over you, and you feel like you're trapped. Absolutely no. I said, you make your money. And if you have a good man and he's making money too, and then you work together, that's what it should be about. That's what any marriage should be about, is working together. And a lot of times, if it is decided, especially if you got several kids, that, she's going to be staying at home until the kids are all in school, and then maybe she goes back to work part time or whatever, that's fine too. We had that agreement. When the kids went back to school, with the twins, I said, just get a part time job. That's it. Heather's doing great, JJ. She's doing awesome. She's back to bartending, and she loves it, and that's what she wanted to do, and she really enjoys it. So, but she tried something different for a while. Uh, you know, let me tell you about that story a little bit, okay? So Heather was working at a bartender, had left that job. She went to the school district and was working as a janitor. She did that for almost a year, and she hated it. She couldn't stand it. Okay, and so yeah, I remember. Well, yeah, she wanted to work for the FBI. That all went. Yeah, she got on with her life and decided to do something different. She enjoys bartending and waiting on tables. She enjoys doing that. So um, she had called me and we were having a discussion, and she said, "Dad, I hate this job. I don't want to do it. I dread going to work every day. I want to go back to bartending." And I said, "Well, Heather," I said, "I am not the one to ever tell you have to stay at a job." I said, "If you are unhappy," I said, "life is too short to be unhappy." I said, "You got to follow what makes you happy." And so she left that and went back to bartending. She's making more money bartending, and she likes it. So, and she's working less hours. So instead of working 40 hours a week, the same shift every day, doing the same routine over and over and over again, which she hated, she's back to bartending. She works about 30 hours a week. And like I said, she's making more money than she was doing the other. So, good for her. And I will always support her in those type of decisions, because I always flew by my own kite. I never gave in and did what was, expected. You have to do this. I don't have to do squat. I do what I want to do. Now, when I worked a lot of hours when the kids were little, it was because I had a family to take care of, and that was my job. They were my kids, and I had to take care of them, and that's what I did. So, but fires are maybe 30 minutes away in Greensboro. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Jim. Hopefully they get that under control. But and the thing is, you're going to get people that are going to look down on. Oh, so what I was going to say was, now I didn't make that public information. I didn't put it out here on YouTube that my daughter's working as a janitor. Right? Never did. I had a troll that was talking all kinds of crap about my daughter, and he goes, "You got to be so disappointed your daughter working as a janitor." Boy, I'll tell you what, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. Um, and I basically said, my thing is this: if you hate me and you don't like me, say whatever you want about me. I don't care. It don't make no difference. Leave my kids out of stuff. And for some weirdo to get that information and to be talking to me about that information that they shouldn't know, I will hunt you down. And that's not a threat. That's a promise. Somebody screws with my kids, I'll come and visit you, and that's a promise. What happens after that's going to be up to you. But I don't like people threatening my children or making those type of things about my kids. They're innocent of anything. That I chose to do YouTube. I wanted to put myself out here, and they obviously came along for the ride because they were my kids. So it just goes back to I had CPS called on me twice back when the kids were little, you know, and they came out, and of course both times, wow, lo and behold, unfounded, but you never know who called on you. You know, it's just people are miserable. They want to try to make you miserable, and that's just part of what happens. And but like I said, my kids are good kids. They're living their lives. They're trying to find their way. And that's what. Hopefully, I gave them both a good foundation, and that they'll be okay. And even Josh, I'm sure I was influential with him as well, and in a good way. And so, yeah, they say misery loves company. There's some very sad and pathetic people out there, Debbie. Very sad and pathetic. So, but yeah, like like with Helen, now that we have the puppies out in the wolf's lair, she's back to her normal self, and I'm actually getting sleep again. I'm going to tell you what, I did not get a lot of sleep that 6 weeks. It was not fun. It was not fun at all. But that's part of what you got to deal with, unfortunately. So, but anyhow, life is interesting, folks. It's not going to change. So, my daughter worked for the U.S. Postal Service as a janitor. Here's the thing, and this is what I'll tell you: whatever job that you're in, and let me use the restaurant business for a great example, because it's like there's so many clogs in the machine in a restaurant. So, you have people that are making the salads. You have people that are making bread. You have the cooks. You have the prep cooks. You have the dishwasher. You have the bussers. You have the servers. You have the managers. And it goes, and you have the hostesses that like when you come into the restaurant. If one of those clogs in that machine breaks down, okay, let's say in the middle of a shift, the dishwasher says, "Screw you, F you, I'm out of here," and walks out the door. That screws everything else up. Everything else. Because, there's nobody washing the dishes now. Somebody else has to go leave the job that they were doing to go wash dishes. And it throws everything behind. Every clog in the machine, whatever the job is, from janitor all the way up, all those jobs are important, because if they doesn't work as a unit, and nobody's better than anybody else. I mean, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to treat the CEO and the janitor the exact same way. I'm going to treat them both the same way, because guess what? They both put their pants on the same way I do, one leg at a time. Just because one is the boss and one is a subordinate, a worker, it don't make them better. It don't make them better. So, it's about being respectful, and just and trying to work together. Any job, you got to try to work together. Just like in nursing. Okay, when I worked nights, I had two CNAs, and if they didn't do their job, let's say they fake doing their rounds and didn't change somebody. Well, day shift is going to come in, and they're going to be like, well, wait a minute, Mrs. Smith's, diaper is completely soaked, and you can tell. Trust me, folks, if you've been in the business long enough, you can tell. You can tell that they hadn't been changed. Well, guess what happens? The nurse manager is going to come down on me, because I'm the charge nurse on that night shift. And then guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to come down on the CNAs, because that's how it goes. Crap rolls downhill. Um, what I always told my CNAs was this: I am not your babysitter. Do your job. You know what your job is. I said, if you make me look bad because you don't do your job, we're going to have an issue. And I generally had pretty good staff that I worked with, and they did their job. for the most part, you know, and there was an exception here and there, obviously, but thank you for burping in my face. I appreciate that. You know, but that's you know, that's how it goes. You know, we're all adults. We know what our role is. We know what we got to do. And I shouldn't have to be chasing after somebody and checking up behind them unless I'm catching static for it. So I know. I see you. You're a good girl. All right, guys. Well, that is the hour. So I am going to jump off. Baby, stop. Down, 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 down. She probably wants to go OUT. Um, I'm going to jump off here for now, guys. Please be safe. Keep prepping. Take care of your business. I'm probably not going to live stream again until next Sunday because I have next weekend off because that is going to be the prepper get together. So not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, I will be live streaming. All right. Please be safe. Hang in there. Take care of your business, guys. I will talk to you all later. Prepper Nurse One out for now.